for me, this has really kind of set me free on so many different things as a human being, as a car person. Covey says the 7 habits of highly effective people, which means that most people that are not effective, which is the general population, live in the paradigm of concern. What are they concerned about? Everything. They're worried about, unfortunately, Tom Petty passing away, the tragic, incident last night that happened in Las Vegas, or a day and a half ago. They're worried about the weather. They're worried about, Irma, Puerto Rico, all this stuff. Where I'm not saying to be obtuse and not care about people, but when it consumes you, where you are distracted from your daily activities, from work, from being productive as your family, because you're sitting there just obsessing about things that you have zero control over. Whether it's about the politics, the government, the president, what have you. On a salesperson perspective, if it's, because of, again, they're blaming the manufacturer, they're blaming the programs, they're blaming the incentives, they're blaming the F&I manager, the business manager, that they can't get this, they can't get that. A lot of people spend a tremendous amount of time, unfortunately, on things that they have no control over. Now, executive managers, permission to speak freely?
Yeah.
Okay, you asked for it. So what I find when I deal with DPs or GMs or executive managers, you're worried about your competitors. ABC Motors is doing this, whether it's in advertising, it's in marketing, it's in strategy, or they have this value package, or they're doing that. Again, I don't care what Grant Cardone is doing. I don't care what Joe Verdi's doing. I really could care less. Again, I don't worry about being in the same places that they are, because I have no control over what they're going to do. So I don't even worry about it. I don't even, think about it. Now, am I blind to, field intelligence? No, but I don't let it consume me. I don't bring them into my meetings and like Cardone, Verdi, this, that. It's irrelevant. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's a paradigm shift. Too many times dealers get distracted with things. Now, here's another one. Again, I was the little short maniac in a car from New York City. You guys are chill in Cali, but in New York, we're like a little bit lit. And so for us, like I would get like livid in the car when people cut me off or what have you. But for what? Like there's no control over it whatsoever. Flights, I have strict rules with flying, and as far as like try not to get it, to connecting flights just because I try to control my environment. But things that I can't control is that if there is no, direct flight, or if there is, I miss a flight, I don't freak out anymore. I've got contingency plans that I engage. If I'm in traffic, I am like way chill. Like maybe, I might turn around and like, that's about it. But no more crazy, you know what I mean, or flipping somebody off in the car. I don't do it. I am productive. If I miss a flight or what have you, I am like enveloped in literature, learning materials, and my whole iTunes is now redone. I have a majority of audiobooks. I'm basically focusing on things that I can control. And what Covey says is that truly effective people, what they do is they focus on the circle of, of influence. Their attitudes, thoughts, actions, and behaviors. Again, their attitudes, thoughts, actions, and behaviors. And what happens is you'll never be able to actually, get rid of the concern. And I think that the next slide is going to pull that, correct?
In the book, it has it.
Okay, so in the book it has it, but
on page 14.
In page 14, what's going to happen is if you start really operating out of the paradigm of influence, your influence is going to grow and your concern's going to shrink. Now, as I said again, you're never going to be able to totally obliterate the concern aspect of it, but you will be more effective to yourself, to your family, to your team, if you are operating out of the paradigm of influence. Does that make sense? It really was a paradigm shift for me, for See Do Get, when I started trying to focus on things that I could control, attitudes, thoughts, actions, and behaviors. I want to also bring a point before I go to the next section here, which is imperative, is that when you hear proactive, it means take initiative, not be lethargic and wait for the magic up bus. I get it. But one of the biggest things out of being proactive is not just taking initiative, it's the proactive mindset of circle of concern versus circle of influence. And as you heard Dr. Covey say directly, you can't really engage any of the other habits truthfully, realistically, powerfully, unless you've turned around and done them in sequential order. That's what they're built for. Each habit builds onto the next habit, which builds onto the next habit. So the next habit, which you'll find out begin with the end result in mind, will not be able to be really possible until you've mastered habit number one, being proactive. Does that make sense? Now, I want you to just kind of think about what I just said and try to imagine all of your individual salespeople, your service writers, your office personnel, just everybody that you come in contact with, and just think about what paradigms do they really focus on, their influence or their concern. You know, and then there's also people that has to be discipline, like I said, conditioning. She gets a kick out of this, the psychic vampire thing. There's people like ghouls that are psychic vampires that go from person to person and they're like, oh, did you hear about that? Blah, 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 blah. And oh my God, ISIS, oh my God. And then when you're done and you're exhausted, then they go to the next person, and they make their rounds in your dealership, just perpetuating, just spinning that whole energy of just concern and stuff that's not going to benefit the overall mission. A lot of this stuff that we're talking about is mental conditioning. It's discipline to be effective. It's not easy. You know, why don't people lift weights? Because it's freaking heavy. That's why I don't lift weights. You know, I mean, truthfully. So why don't people do this? Because you got to discipline yourself and condition yourself to be able to do that.